your book is going to be really helpful for especially church groups to like read it together in community and to have discussion. Because you're right, it's not like here's the 5 things you need to do after you read this book. It's really to create dialogue. Like, what are some ways that we can better love? What are some ways to get better educated, to acknowledge these social sins? What would be your advice for the church group or community group that's reading through Reparations, and there might be some conflicts, some debates happening within those circles? I guess lead these conversations with empathy.
Yeah, I think this in some ways will follow up on what Dick just said. I think people have to remember where we are in terms of the largely white church in this reparations conversation. We're sort of where we were in February of 2020, where we're just now realizing that there's this virus, but we don't know what's going on. And it's absurd to say, well, like, what are we going to do about it? At a certain level, and then to say, because what we're going to do about it is figure out together, right? Nobody's expecting, Anthony Fauci in February of 2020 to say, here's what the vaccine looks like. What we're just doing is saying, hey, everybody, there's a potential global pandemic that's happening here, and we need you to begin to prepare your imagination for a world that you couldn't imagine yesterday. But now it's coming, and we want you to begin to prepare for that. We really think that's where it's certainly the evangelical church is with respect to the reparations conversation. It's just emerging. It feels distant. It feels confusing. It feels like maybe this doesn't really have anything to do with me. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do about it anyway. But it's coming. This conversation is coming. And so what we're trying to do is say, as you're doing this with church groups, just realize that what we're doing is trying to provide a picture for you of a world that evangelicalism has not yet imagined, which is a world where we might actually take constructive reparative action materially and concretely about reparations in this country. And I think that rather than sort of jumping in and judging each other about all these different things, I think what we need to do is recognize we are very much at the beginning of this conversation. And all we're trying to do is get people to open themselves up to, okay, white supremacy really is like a cultural disorder. Reparations really is a Christian response to theft. And we really are the people of Jesus who are now obligated to take this up. Now let's think about this creatively together. What I want is for churches to think about themselves like Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer and Moderna and, others thought of themselves, which is like, we got to go into the lab here with the things that we know and figure out in collaboration with people around the world how we're going to do this. And that's where we actually are in this process. And that's why some of the, and I'll say this and then shut up. That's why some of the reviews that are coming out that are saying, well, these guys didn't tell us what to do. What that indicates to us is not a failure of specificity on our part, but a failure of like a recognition about where we actually are in this process on the part of the reviewers, especially when those people use the fact that we don't know how to address this fully as justification for dismissing the concept. It would be the equivalent of somebody saying to Fauci in February of last year, well, if you can't show me what the vaccine is, then guess what? The virus isn't real. It's ridiculous. But that is what a number of these reviews are saying. And I think that we really need to understand that we're in a very different place than a lot of these people want us to be.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out this video clip from the Delgado Podcast. To get more videos like this, simply subscribe here on YouTube. You can also download the full episode of each show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or your favorite podcast player. Take care.